Welcome to yet another edition of the Tom Green Podcast. This one is the start of a nice little series that I thought about, and it was because of my Michigan fandom and that I've been into quite a few Michigan games before. I thought I would try to start talking to some of the alumni and see how they've been and see what they're doing now. So, to start this series, I've got Michigan softball player Haley Hoogenraad on with me and hoping to have a great conversation with her. Haley, it's good to reconnect and good to talk to you.
Yeah, definitely good to see you again. It's been a long time, but definitely good to see you.
Oh, definitely. I think it was 2018 now. You were at Michigan and I was at a softball game there and we met and chatted for a couple minutes. So definitely. So thankfully our paths have crossed again. And so first question is pretty basic is how are you doing?
Honestly, really good. So I just moved up to the Traverse City area. I'm originally from Holland. But I just moved up there 6 months ago, 7 months ago now. And like really getting settled in with my life, my new career. That's I kind of segues into one of your other questions, but
Sure.
so I got into winemaking when I graduated. So my undergrad was in poli sci.
Okay.
Um, so completely like detour off of what I got my undergrad degree in.
Right.
But after I graduated, I got a job as a harvest intern, is what they call it. So I got to work at a wine grape harvest, and basically just see the ins and outs of all of it. And then I kind of ended up keeping that in my career. So I just started a new job this July as an assistant winemaker at one of the wineries up in Traverse City. So I've been really good, really exciting.
Well, yeah, yeah, definitely. It's always good to hear when you and others are doing real good. And so, yeah, you were kind of seeing that you were in poli sci, and now that you're doing winery. So, what kind of launched that detour?
So when I was in college yet, I would work in the summers a lot of times and get like a job just to like make some extra money for obviously like paying rent during the school year and that kind of thing. And I worked at a couple wineries in the summers while I was up in the Traverse City area because my parents have a place in the Lake Leelanau area, and they've been going up there like my entire life every single summer. So I would spend the summers, since we didn't really have like required softball stuff. I would spend the summers up there living and working. And I worked at some tasting rooms because my mom had worked at tasting rooms, and she was like, they're really fun jobs. Like, you would love it. It's just like you get to meet so many people and it's just such a good time. And I was like, okay, like whatever, I'll try it. And then kind of just fell in love with like the wine world and how diverse and honestly just open it is to so many different people. And that's how I ended up getting the internship after college. And then it's kind of just built into a career as I've kind of just gotten promoted and then moved to new wineries. So yeah,
Definitely. So, is the wine business something that you're looking at doing for your entire career?
probably. Yeah. So I've started to do a little bit of like more um schooling, educational stuff, like truly to get like a basis more scientifically, which I don't really technically have from my poli sci background. But winemaking is kind of like an apprenticeship style of building your career. I guess you kind of take different steps and get new jobs and like work alongside head winemakers and different things like that, and just have lots of connections with other winemakers like in the industry. So yeah, I do really think I see myself doing this the rest of my life. I love it. So
Yeah, definitely. You find something that you love, and then thankfully you make it a career. Which for me, it's podcasting, sports, and sports writing, and all that. And I've wanted to do it ever since I was at Essexville Garber for a lot of years. So you find
yeah.
something you love, and you just love to do it, which is a good thing. So
Yes. And when it works out, it's the best thing ever.
you do it, you find a job you love, and you never work a day in your life. So that's
Exactly.
hopefully that's the feeling for you. So now we get into some of the meat and potatoes of this, and that is Michigan softball. Tell me about your career there playing for Coach Hutchins. I mean, it's an honor to play for Hutch, and two, I'm sure you had a great career there. Tell me about it.
Yeah, so getting to play for Hutch was I always tell people, like, first off, one of the hardest things I've ever had to do, but literally one of the most like rewarding, awesome, like learning life lessons, like just one of the best things that I think I'll ever get to do in my life. And so I'm so blessed to have had the opportunity to do it, but also just to get the chance to finish it and have those lifelong friends and stuff, like in my teammates, in my coaches, in Hutch. Um, I would also say, I guess, trying to think
Sure.
about this question. I had like a train of thought and then lost it.
It happens, believe me, in this world.
um, so okay. Do you want to repeat it? Because
Sure. Just tell me some highlight. We'll go into highlights of your
okay.
softball career from the time that you played.
Yeah. Okay. So I guess like from my career, the things I would write off as like my highlights are just like Big Ten championships. Those are some of the coolest things to be a part of, those games where you clinch the Big Ten championship. Everybody's like, there's nothing better than being a Michigan Wolverine. Like it's the best, the greatest thing. Like those are the coolest memories I have, like big ticket memories. But like in the most simplistic way, I miss like alumni field game days like so much. That was the coolest experience, like with all your teammates, like in the locker room before the game, like getting ready to go out there, warm ups, like being out on the field, just like seeing all the fans and like all these people that are so excited and passionate about what you spent so much time working on. It's like one of the greatest, coolest experiences ever. And like for me, so not everybody knows this. Some people know this, not everybody know this, but I was a preferred walk-on
Okay.
and I really wasn't expected to play at all. I was from West Michigan. There's not lots of players, even historically throughout time, that come from West Michigan. There's a few now. It's starting to grow a little bit.
Sure.
But when I was a kid, there weren't very many kids to look up to from West Michigan that played softball at the Division I level, let alone Michigan. And so it was kind of just like a pipe dream for me from the time I was a kid, that I like my dream school. You know, they always say your dream
Oh yeah.
school. Like, Michigan was always my dream school and stuff. So when I got the chance and I got the call from Hutch, like, hey, we have a spot for you. It's a preferred walk on, but like, if you want it, you got it, you know? And like having that experience, like growing from a preferred walk on, someone that wasn't really expected to be a starter.
Hmm.
It is one of the coolest things. And like, it's a blessing. I am so blessed to have had that experience and growing into that starting role, and having the opportunity to be that and tell that story and stuff like that is one of the coolest things I think I'll ever get to do, you know? Yeah, it's, yeah. Pretty soon.
Absolutely. So, you were talking to me about the experience of an alumni field game day, which you and I both got to experience it. Me as a fan, you as a
Yep.
player. But softball, it's just a different vibe. I really feel like you see a lot of team oriented support for each player at the plate. And of
Mhm.
course, on defense, you always have the rally cries and whatnot from the crowd, and even on defense. So, I mean, tell me
Yeah.
how the experience of a softball game is different than your typical like major sports like football or basketball or volleyball. Even just tell me how different it is.
Yeah. So obviously you have like the highs and lows of the game. It's not as continuous, I feel like, as like a basketball game or a volleyball game or a football game, right? There's not that like super continuous, like pretty even keel vibe. It's very high and low. And the people that would come to our games a lot of times were very like consistent, loyal fans. So you weren't getting like people that were coming to one or two games. You were getting a lot of people that, I mean, you did have people that would come to one or two games, but you were getting a lot of people who would come to a ton of games and were huge Michigan softball fans and stuff. So you got sort of a like family feel, I guess, if you will, at the games.
Sure.
From would recognize fans. Like I would see fans over and over and over again, and they would be people that were commenting on Twitter or like posting at the team or like asking to take pictures with people after the games, and like constantly the same people basically that were like always there cheering. And it almost had a super homey feel to it because like the fans band behind you so much. Like, obviously, all Michigan fans at Michigan sporting events are going to be the biggest, like, Michigan fans, right?
Right. Oh
But
yeah.
the way that the fans would band behind us for calls with umpires, like when Hutch was big on something, like when we would try to do cheers with them, like fans were so into the game. It felt like they were right there with us, like they're backing us up. And that is like unlike anything I've ever experienced at a sporting event before. And I just think it's the coolest thing. Like when I go back and stuff as an alumni for games, it's still the same feeling. And I just love that so much. And it's such a cool thing to have been able to play like for that team in that environment, you know?
Oh,
So,
yes. And, yeah, that was kind of my comment is that softball is a very much more family-like feel at the
mhm.
games. I've been to a couple of them over the years, and it's different and a lot of times even better than some of the, events that I have experienced because, yeah, I just think it has that family feel, and you're pretty much in supporting that case.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you think about like the announcers are much more like prevalent doing different things, right? Everybody's got their walk up songs and they're constantly doing games in between innings and stuff. And like people are just super into it. And like it feels super engaging the entire time. It's a very cool vibe. They do a very nice job putting on games. And people obviously like the support of the fans and stuff like that is unmatched. That is something I'm so thankful for, like getting the chance to experience. Like, yeah.
Absolutely. So, now tell me a story of that you can of a good experience, with kind of team bonding or something like that off the field.
Yeah. So honestly, my favorite like team experience off the field would kind of probably be like trips. When
Sure.
we would like fly or drive buses or whatnot, whatever, like to wherever we were playing. That was
Mm.
like the coolest, like fun experience ever because like when we're not all sitting there doing homework for study tables or things like that, everybody there's 20 different conversations going on and everybody's just having the best time. And like it was just such a family feel. Like I feel like some of those people like some of those girls I played with, like my sisters for life, you know, like we did everything together from middle of February to June, everything. You know, even on our off days, everybody's like going to get food together and like we want to get lunch, you want to go grocery shopping. Everybody's like hanging out together. Like the feel of like season and like I said, like bus rides, plane flights, like nights in the hotel when like nobody's parents are really there. We're all just hanging out with ourselves, you know, waiting for our game the next day. Like those like little moments that you don't realize make up the whole thing, those have to be the coolest, like the most fun experiences I can think of that are just like unparalleled, you know?
Oh, definitely. So, now a question I got for you is, tell me about a couple of your teammates or a couple of other Michigan Athletics alumni that you'd like to see me interview.
um, hmm. I'd have to get in touch with some friends and be like, look, this is fun. Like you should do it. um, I feel like Lexi Blair would be a cool one. I don't know if she would do it or not. She's coaching now at I think Northern Kentucky. She
Okay.
took a coaching position with them. I'm trying to think of anyone else that would be, you know, actually like willing to come
Right.
and um I'm like blanking on who I even graduated with. Even though I'm like been at
I
names
mean,
and
it happens. Of the farther out you get from the university or the school, sometimes you forget some of the names.
yeah. I feel like Taylor Bump might do it. I feel like she would probably do it. She's one of those people that's just like super talkative and like really likes like the atmosphere of, you know, the whole thing and is good at talking about it. Yeah, so I'd say probably like the two biggest people I think of are like Taylor Bump or Lexi Blair probably. But yeah. Yeah.
Definitely. Hopefully, I'll get a chance to interview them as well as alumni from other sports, and we'll see where this series
Yeah.
takes off. So, well, let me see. I guess any other things that you may have to add about the conversation, or anything that I might have missed, or something of that nature.
Yeah. One of the things you had written up as a question, like as a preface question, was like what any advice I would have for like kids that
Yes, thank you.
the
Yes,
sports, like college sports.
yeah,
Um, the biggest thing for me that I think helped me develop as an athlete, number one, but two, as a well-rounded athlete, like mentally as well. And helped me not to just get burnt out when I got to college and started to really specialize just in softball. So not a lot of people know this, but I was a four sport athlete in high school. So I played basketball, softball, track, and ran cross country. I was all state in basketball with 1,000 career points. all state in softball, and I was all state in track. Um, and the biggest thing that I would say, like to high school athletes trying to play in college, play all the sports. Don't get to the point where you're like, I want to play baseball in college, so I'm only playing baseball. Or I want to play basketball in college, so I'm only playing basketball. You will have plenty of time to specialize in that sport when you get to college, and your coaches are literally just having you just play that and just practice that. Build up your athleticism, your well-roundedness as an athlete mentally and physically, and try to play as many sports as you can just to make yourself well-rounded. You will have, like I said, you will have plenty of time to build yourself as a softball player, baseball player, basketball player when you get to the Division I level. The tools that you bring with you will be more diverse and more wide if you play more sports and you are a more well-rounded athlete, and you don't get burnt out as quickly. You don't, because you've played other sports, and you've had the whole experience, and you didn't just play softball your whole life growing up. That, for me, I feel like that was the biggest thing that helped me be the best athlete I could be when I was in college. So,
Yeah, definitely, and especially in the coverage area that I'm at, which is in the thumb, a
yeah,
lot of our athletes do play more than one sport, and it's somewhat because there isn't a whole lot. The cupboards are a little more bare than a lot of other areas, I
yeah,
guess is the way to put it. But
yeah,
it also makes you well-rounded as an athlete, and like
yeah,
you said, you don't get burnt out because as soon as as one sport ends, another sport begins, and you can hone your craft in the other sport. Where, like you said, you have time for that other sport when you get to college. But
yeah, yeah, definitely. So,
so well, at this point, anything else that you might have to add?
go blue.
Love it.
Always.
Woo all day. She is Haley Hoogenraad, and this has been the first of hopefully many of the conversations with Michigan alumni. Hope you guys have enjoyed this, and I hope that it can continue and blossom at some point. So thanks again for tuning in, and go Woo.